what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another action movie review. And this time we're going to be talking about Only Lestrawn, which came out in 1993 and stars Mark Dacascos.
I'm Sylvia Saska.
And I'm Jen Saska.
And we're the Saska sisters. Get part of this!
Bloody Jacob here, meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel here.
Spread the little butt down there. It's Bloody with 2 E's.
Bloody Jacob, for sexy, awesome, exclusive content. And actually a for real friend of the Saskas.
Yeah, we love him! Support his stuff!
Please support your local artists. Please.
Yeah.
Special Forces soldier Louis Stevens returns to Miami to find his former high school overrun by drugs and violence. A master of the Brazilian martial art capoeira, Stevens pledges to straighten out a dozen of school's worst students by teaching them his demanding and highly disciplined fighting style. Slowly his program begins to work, giving the students new hope and purpose, but the local drug lord, himself a martial arts expert, vows to stop Stevens' positive influence. Now he must fight to save his own life, as well as the lives of his rebellious young students. And yeah, Only Lestrawn was directed by Sheldon Lettich, who, if you're a fan of the martial arts genre, you should recognize the name. He's directed as well as partially wrote some of Van Damme's better films, among others as well. So this is like in a way, like a match made in heaven, potentially. Got the DVD of Only Lestrawn right here. Actually pretty cool looking one, I think. I haven't been able to find a Blu-ray of this anywhere, at least in the US, but yeah, I've been really eager to get into more of Mark Dacascos' work for a little while now. Of course, everyone has seen him in, like, John Wick 3 and everything, and that was a good movie, but, to see more of his, lead stuff, more of, him at the forefront, whether it's from a couple decades ago or some of his more recent work, which I'll eventually get to, he's definitely worth, looking into, because I did do a little review of Drive as part of a QMR, quite a while ago, and, I like that movie fine, but I was very eager to watch Only Lestrawn. I also watched, Crying Freeman and some others as well. But Only Lestrawn was one I was really meaning to get to. Because I had always heard, from both the Action Elite group as well as, some others. This is really like his, kind of main big lead breakout role at the time. And, I watched this and, like, Kickboxer 5, side by side pretty much. And Kickboxer 5 was fine. But Only Lestrawn, I think, really lived up to most of what I heard about it. I really enjoyed Only Lestrawn quite a bit. It honestly feels like a classic martial arts film. I'm wearing my, Jean-Claude Van Damme shirt right now. I need a Dolph Lundgren shirt, I need a Scott Adkins shirt, now I need a Mark Dacascos shirt, apparently. But it feels like Dacascos' Bloodsport or Dacascos' Kickboxer. It feels like on that level, not just for him, but in the genre. And fans of his, they talk about this one quite well, but it's not, obviously not brought up like some of those. It's not quite as, widely known of a film, of course, but I think it deserves the same amount of praise, if not more, in some regards. I'm not saying, if I like it more than either of those two right now, but I think it's worth talking about. And sure, I mean, it is, campy, it is, cheesy, the dialogue isn't very, complicated or anything like that, but I appreciate it. I liked, it's on the nose, but nonetheless, it is kind of inspiring. It is sort of like a feel-good movie. You've seen this concept a lot, not just in movies, but in, TV shows. Someone, trying to pull their neighborhood out of the brink, or these so-called really bad students that turn out to be either, just abused or mistreated, and they draw strength from a symbol of hope, essentially, and that's kind of what this movie is. It's straightforward, but it's not really pretending to be anything else. You have one of the students who's actually a relative to the drug lord in the film, so you got that, family issue there, potentially. You have a kid with, like, a, beatbox and stuff like that. And some of them don't really seem that bad, but it is what it is with that as well. Jeffrey Lewis is also in this movie. Van Damme fans will know him from his role in Double Impact, which is also from Sheldon Lettich. And Mark Dacascos himself, he is quite good in this movie. I thought he did pretty well in this. I'm not saying he's like a Oscar-worthy performance or something like that, but I think he continues to show me that he's one of the more likable and just enjoyable personas on screen within the genre now and then. And he really has a true talent in his craft. Out of all these types of films I've been watching over the past year or two, I think he's truly one of the most skilled of any of them in terms of his agility, his techniques. I think he's one of the very, very best, even better than some of the very biggest names in the genre. We can get into that some other time. Capoeira wasn't even apparently his main style. So I had to learn a little bit more about it from a master before this film, which is fine. Of course, refined it for the movie, and I feel like it did well paying homage to that culture. And my brother's gonna like me mentioning this, but like how I think it was a perfect weapon with Jeff Speakman or something. My brother always talks about how that gave more personality to the the Kempo style. I think this movie kind of worked the same way for the Capoeira style. And on top of that, you have a pretty decent villain, I guess, in terms of screen presence. Again, pretty generic. Again, they're not like really deep characters or anything like that, but I thought he had the physical presence in the movie too. He sort of reminded me of a combination of like a Steven Seagal in better shape, and then the villain from the Van Damme movie Cyborg, if you've seen that, which I hope you have. And their main fight scene in the movie does end up being pretty good, I'd say. I think the choreography is pretty on point, although apparently there are some issues with that. They eventually brought in another expert to assist with that style and such, but apparently Frank Dux was also part of it initially, and Sheldon Lettich had problems with him for not being as creative with the fight scenes as he was initially saying he would be. And if you guys know the genre and Bloodsport and such, Frank Dux, a lot of controversy around him, not really everything he said he was at one point. So that's kind of an issue with that, but I think Mark Dacascos' talent still combined with Lettich's and who they brought in to help besides him, I think it still added up to a pretty fun martial arts movie. And the fight scenes are still pretty good, particularly in that one picture I just showed of Dacascos, where he's surrounded by a bunch of the goons, and I think it actually works pretty well. The movie is paced fairly good. There's also a little love interest in the story, that he had known when he was in school and such, and I thought the actress who played her didn't do too bad of a job either. I mean, I thought she worked well enough with Mark, and again, seeing Jeffrey Lewis is a highlight as this old teacher that Dacascos knew and he was sort of inspired by when he was younger initially. And again, Mark Dacascos is one of the true, I think, great talents of the genre. I don't need to bring up Steven Seagal in every video, but it's it has to be said when guys actually put in as much effort as Dacascos does, and he's willing to show his characters go through adversity and difficulty, whereas Seagal, he can't look like he's struggling at all, or faces any sort of difficulty. But Mark Dacascos does in this movie before he makes his comeback and sort of learns what he's up against, and kind of gets more inspiration within himself and everything. So it's a trope, sure, but Seagal isn't a god, so it kind of bugs you when he pretends to be, to say the least. I've talked more about that before. But yeah, I think Only Lestrade is one of the greats of the genre. I do. And if I had to rate it, it's hard. It's a hard one to rate. I'd give it at least a B+. I mean, I know there's some shortcomings with it. It is cheesy. Some people might think it's a bit dated, but I think if you're a fan of the genre, you can kind of look past that. Some of the supporting performances are a bit on the, kind of just their side, but I think you get everything you could really want out of it. And the song, the capoeira song, is just stuck in my head now ever since I watched it. So yeah, let me guys thought about this one. I really liked it a lot. Like I said, I think it's right up there with some of the other classics that are more widely known. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and peace.